This, we are proving that it is correct for some values of x. Now remember, how do you prove an identity? You choose the side that you can simplify the most. In this case, I'm looking at this side. I'm gonna choose the left-hand side and simplify it. There I start by mentioning the fact that I'm working with the left-hand side of these two sides. Now, I have applied the conjugate principle. The conjugate, let's go back again to the conjugate. The conjugate of x plus 1 is x minus 1. Now, I'm looking at 1 minus cos x. It means the conjugate of this must be 1 plus cos x. Now, for us not to change what we were given, we need to multiply this by 1 plus cos x divided by 1 plus cos x. Remember, 1 plus cos x divided by 1 plus cos x is just equals to 1. It means that we are multiplying this by 1. Any number multiplied by 1, the product will always be that number. Now, multiplying, we can see that this is the same as that. The only difference will be the signs. That takes us back to difference of 2 squares. Now, looking at this is exactly the same as that. We are multiplying two things which are the same. Now, simplifying, the numerator would be 1 minus cos squared x. The denominator would be 1 plus cos x, all into power of 2. Now, remember the squares identities. Sine x plus sine squared x, plus cos squared x is equals to 1. That means that sine squared x is equals to 1 minus cos squared x. There, I can substitute this. Now, the denominator, because of the square root sign, I'm not going to simplify that. I'm looking for the square root of this. Now, going down, I substituted 1 minus cos squared x by its value, which is sine squared x, divided by 1 plus cos x, all into power of 2. Now, going back to sets, remember that if you have under the square root sign a fraction of a squared divided by b squared, that is the same as root a squared divided by root b squared. Root a squared is a, root b squared is b. Now, in this case, it means I must think along this. Now, the square root of sine squared x will be sine x. The square root of 1 plus cos x all squared will be 1 plus cos x. Going back to what they wanted us to do, they wanted us to prove that this side is exactly the same as that side. Now, if you look at what we did here, we have proved that square root 1 minus cos x divided by 1 plus cos x is sine x divided by 1 plus cos x. And that means the left-hand side is exactly the same as the right-hand side. Please, folks, keep in mind the most important thing here is conjugates. Never forget them when you get into that exam room. Have them somewhere in your toolbox. The toolbox, I mean everything that you were taught in trigonometry, which we were preparing for the exam. Folks, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and share the channel with others so that you don't pass alone. Everyone passes and everyone finds mathematics very easy and interesting. And one thing that you must remember, in your exam, we test two things from you: procedural fluency. Keep that in mind. And how do you practice procedural fluency? Use previous question papers and coupled with the content that you have learned in class. Now, with that, success is just in your tip of the fingers. Thank you very much, folks.